Welcome back to Great Day St. Louis. You know, it's hard to believe, but we've made it almost to the middle of the year here. So how are your finances looking in this second week of June? You might not know because maybe you haven't checked simply because you don't know where to start. That's where we turn to Erin Lapidus. Erin knows everything there is about where to start. She's the president of JBL Financial Services and a retirement coach. And she says there are 3 mid-year checks that we should do. What is the first thing?
Well, the first thing is let's just review and update your cash flow projections. A lot of people call this a budget, but I feel like that can feel either intimidating or even punitive. So why don't we just take a look at where your money's going? Are you happy with that? And that kind of really leads us to the second thing.
But it could go, and let me just say on that, it could kind of go either way. It could be that maybe you don't need as much cash as you thought you did, and you can do something very productive with the leftover.
That's exactly right. You might be finding that you're building up some excess cash, which is great. Or you could notice that maybe you're not in love with all the places that you're spending money. And that's okay. You can start to make some changes to that. I put this first because you kind of need to know what you're bringing in and what you're spending before we can get to the second
Okay. And what is the second?
Which is, let's set some goals. And where are you in those goals?
Okay.
And so if you've set a few goals and maybe you're not progressing the way you'd like to, we need to go back to that cash flow and say, where are we spending money that maybe we could spend a little bit less? Or maybe we just reorder how we're spending money. You know, people always say, let's pay ourselves first. We consider that saving. So are you paying yourself enough first? And then secondly, if you have some debts to liquidate, are you putting enough towards those to make a meaningful change in the amount of debt that you're carrying? We all know that credit card debt can carry very high interest rates, which makes it feel like we're just treading water. So this could give us the opportunity to make some meaningful changes with the last 6 months of the year.
Could be just a reset of the goals. I mean, maybe you've reached the goals and it's time to reset your goals.
There's
a number of reasons you could need to do it.
That's a fantastic point. Maybe you've reached some of your goals and now it's time to set new ones because this is ongoing. Even when we get to retirement, there are always new goals to be had. So you don't want to stick with ones that you've already accomplished.
And then you talk about a review process.
That's right. Let's not make this the first and last time you take a look at your finances. It doesn't have to be every 6 months. It could be every 3 months, or it could be once a year, depending upon your comfort level. But you should really, after today, if you say, I'm going to do a mid-year check-in, let's make an end-of-year check-in or a beginning-of-year check-in and continue that process so that way you can stay on track.
Now, we just have a couple of seconds, but I want you to talk a little bit about the radio show that you guys do on the Big 550 KTRS on the weekends. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
So every Saturday morning from 9 to 11, we host a radio show where you can call in and ask financial questions, but oftentimes we're talking about real-life situations that we see every day with people that come into our office.
Taking case studies and sharing them.
That's exactly right. We literally talk about Joe and Sally. This is what happened, and this is how we helped them, or this is how they were able to help themselves.
And they have 2 hours to get it done, so you can really drill down into some of these subjects. So get in contact with Erin and her team at JBL Financial Services by calling 314-863-0009, or you can find them on the web at jblfinancial.com.